All right, everyone, we're going to get started now and add Joe to the picture here. Thank you all for joining. Joe is coming up live right now. Hey, Joe, thanks for waiting a little bit. Appreciate it. And we're going to get started immediately. And let's just try to get my mic going, but you just kind of one up. You always one up with your microphone. So excited to have you here. So Joe, we have a little group here. And these are externs, interns who are exploring opportunities to build projects, to pitch internships to organizations. And then there's going to be students who are watching this as well asynchronously. But let me go and kick it off first by sharing that to all the students who are watching right now, that you have gone here because you checked your calendar invites and you saw the Employer Spotlight today on Raconteur Animation. And you clicked on this public program here on PilotCity, and then you arrived to this screen here, signed in, and you clicked on Zoom, and now we're live right here. So continue to check these calendar invites so that you know what's going on, and continue to take a peek and poke at that. So Joe, how are you doing?
Pretty good. Yeah, it's good to see you, Derek.
Good to see you too. So excited to share more about you. We'll have about 21 minutes or so we could probably keep these comprehensive yet short and sweet. I think it'll be really awesome. And students will probably have some questions for you too towards the end. So I'll kind of format the basics today. So the first question for you, Joe, is what does Raconteur Animation do?
So we are a motion design studio that works primarily with tech companies. So if, for example, if there's a startup that's launching a new tech invention, we can help them get traction with investors or customers in doing a video for them, really helping them tell their story better. And also for larger companies, if they're launching a new product or doing a trade show, that kind of thing, we can help them again do a video to help them communicate with their customers and get more traction for the product launch.
Awesome. And just to elaborate a little bit more, how would you describe what you shared earlier about the motions? Like, what do you create in terms of motion? Can you elaborate more on that? What are some other words that might describe the work that you do on that technical aspect?
Yeah, so motion design is uh I think it's a relatively new term that people in the industry have started to use, but it refers to motion graphics, to 2D animation like you'd make in Adobe After Effects, um, like text animation or um, little little graphics that would go on top of video. It also refers to 3D animation, and in our case, to product animation specifically. So if there's a physical product that needs to be animated, that would fall under the kind of this motion design umbrella.
Cool. Let me actually ask a little more sub questions here because I know that it could be helpful. What are some tools you use on a daily basis when it comes to motion design?
So our go-to tool, I mean, 90% of the time it's Cinema 4D, and that would be plugged in with Adobe After Effects and Adobe Premiere for the and Photoshop, Illustrator, all of those things we can use to produce a video. Also, we are starting to use Unreal Engine because of the real-time rendering capabilities there. It's I firmly believe that's the future as far as 3D goes. So we're starting to learn that, and we've also used Unity. And I mean, years ago, I also personally used Maya and Blender. So
Great. So that should give you all some ideas of actual tools that are used to do motion design. And a lot of it you may be familiar with. So next question. And for everyone here as well who's listening, who is available, feel free to share if you use any of those tools right now, or if you have an interest in using those tools, and put into the chat. And next question for you, Joe, is what are your products and services? What do you actually offer to your customers, and who are your customers?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I'm honestly I'm fi still figuring that out. It's been a long journey in that in that regard. Uh, so I'll say my favorite customers to work with are startup founders. And was there a second part to your question? You said who do we work with? Was
What are
that
your
it?
what are your products and services? And
Okay.
then who are your customers?
Right. So, um, startup founders, uh, for them, we would help them do sometimes I call it a vision video. A lot of times they have really big ideas. We can help them communicate that through animation, through video. We've also done a pitch deck design for them to help them raise funds. So that would be a service or product offering. The other people that we would tend to work with would be heads of marketing in organizations. So that could be a chief marketing officer, it could be a VP of marketing, director of marketing, sometimes a marketing manager. And in larger organizations, those are the people that would be needing our services in terms of animation or rendering or video. And the third kind of person that we'd work with would be producers. And so in the creative industry, there's a hierarchy to how these things get done. A lot of times you have the end client at the top, and they might have, like I said, they might have some marketing folks that we would be directly working with. But also, if they're a big enough company, a lot of times they will hire an agency to to help them with their marketing. And so a producer at that agency or a creative director might hire us to help make videos or animations for them. So inside of an agency, we could be working with a producer or with a creative director as well.
Awesome. And if anyone has any questions for what Joe just mentioned, throw it into the chat. We can have you ask that question, elaborate a little later. I know that all this stuff may be new to all of you in terms of words, like what is a chief marketing officer? What is a pitch deck? Who is a producer? So go and throw those into the chat if you have any questions like that, or if you're picking it up, no problem. So next question, Joe, is around your priorities. What are the top 3 priorities right now for you? And go ahead and start by sharing that.
You mean in general in business?
Yeah, I would say in context of what students could help you with, but more ideally just something high level in terms of your top 3 priorities that they could fold into. Like, what are the top 3 things that you're focused on right now?
So high level, and it's not really something that students could help with, but I'm trying to broaden what we do for our customers because in a sense, a video is not always valuable. And this is an important lesson for you to learn for anybody who's interested in going into this industry is that when you go to, if you want to make money with this and you go to, say, chief marketing officer and say, hey, I can make a video for you, that's not always the language that they speak. And just saying video is not necessarily going to be something that they're going to want to buy. And so you have to start to think more in terms of their world, which is um, how do I communicate better with my customers? How do I Um, like I mentioned earlier, how do we get more traction for this product launch? How do we make more sales? And if you can, that's what I'm working on right now is how do I start to take video over here, which is what we've been doing and business building, and how do I make those things closer together? Um, Under that context, under that umbrella, one of the things that a lot of marketers are interested in right now is TikTok and short form video. And there, um, to us old folks, there's this whole new way of communicating on the internet, with short form video, and we don't really understand it yet. We don't understand how to communicate in that way, and the ins and outs of what's good, what's bad, how to edit that way, how to use music, graphics, all of those things in that context. And so that's something I want to figure out, and I want to learn more about it from younger people who have kind of grown up in that world. Um, I want to understand that better. And so that's kind of what I'm looking for right now is somebody who knows, just say TikTok, for example, knows that world and knows how to edit video that does well in that world and can do some of that for me or for our customers, and also uh, just help teach me how that works.
So what I'm hearing is two priorities right now: broaden what you do and what you offer to customers. That's number one. And number two is editing and learning more about short form content and actually having you understand it more, as well as someone who may have interest and knows how to do editing for short form content. That's two, right? That's currently what I'm hearing.
Yep, that's correct.
Cool. And what would you say? So next question is, what would you say? What can students help you with in terms of those two priorities specifically? Elaborate
Um,
more on what specifically they could support you with in some greater detail.
as a kind of a test run for the short form video editing, I would like uh, somebody to do podcast clip editing. I have a podcast and I'm generating social media clips of, little sound bites from my guests. And so I need someone to do some short form video editing there for social media.
Okay, so that seems to be the one task that they could support you with. Is there more tasks, more elaboration on the area in which you could kind of download their brain, helping you learn more about short form content and social media content and new age marketing? In addition to test running for short form content, video editing, like, is there anything else that would be the second or third
Like
areas that students can help you with?
as far as the teaching aspect of it.
Yeah, just anything else that students can actually do for you besides test run for short form video editing. And it's okay if there isn't. Just wondering if there is.
Yeah. I think the way it would work is to do a clip or two, and then I would want to understand uh, why you made the decisions that you did in the edit. And I have a rough idea of the kind of style that I'm looking for. Um, but yeah, I just want to know, get more familiar with the decisions that video editor would be making.
Cool. So that sounds really clear. You're basically learning short form content, video editing as you work with whoever the contributor is to basically develop it, right? So you'll be learning how it works as you go, essentially. But starting specifically with the short form video editing from podcast clip editing. Sounds good. And if anyone here has any questions, go and put into the chat at this point, because we'll start to line up questions that you may have as it relates to test runs for short form video editing, capabilities that you may have, or ideas or clarifications you could use around what kind of content there is, or maybe you want to ask what Joe's looking for in terms of style. And I'll tell you right now that Joe has very high level style and quality to his work. So the bar to me with Joe is like up here. You can't even see it. If you see his website and the videos that he makes and the content he makes, you'll know what I mean. So if you have any questions, please ask it. Next question, which is actually relevant to what I'm sharing right now, Joe. What are the qualities you're looking for in an intern?
Like personal qualities.
What would you look for as qualities in an intern that's working for you?
The best interns that I've had are kids who already have an interest in this kind of thing, in 3D and in video. It's a it's an extremely competitive field, and a lot of everybody wants to get into it. It's so cool. And so to really uh, to really make it, you have to be hungry. You have to be doing this on your own initiative. In other words, this has to be something that you're pursuing on your own, regardless of whether or not you get an internship or whatever. Um, the kids that I really like working with are the ones that are just pursuing this because they love it. Um, and uh, kind of along those lines are another really good quality is that you're a good intern is continuously trying to improve and trying to learn and asking questions to get better. Um, I don't always have the time to teach really in depth or to handhold or anything. So um, being having that initiative on their own um, is really important to be, proactively searching on YouTube to figure things out. And if they can't figure things out, then ask as specific questions as they can to get the answers. Um, yeah, be proactive.
Love it. So what I'm hearing is what you're looking for as qualities from interns are they have to have an interest in this field already, whether it's 3D video, it's competitive. A lot of people want to do it. Number two, you got to be hungry, you got to be passionate, you got to be doing it on your own initiative. Number three, you always got to want to improve what you're doing, what you're creating, and get better and ask questions to yourself, whether it's Joe answering it or yourself answering it or you researching and then taking self initiative and being proactive. So if you all feel like, if anyone here is listening, you feel like you have some of those qualities, go ahead and share some of those qualities into the chat as well, so we can hear it from you all. And one of the last questions I have is, would you be open to compensating for this if you were to actually get test run video editors for short form content based on what the delivered to you, maybe in a build projects to pitch an internship to you. If you were to see a bite size and take them on, would you be open to compensating for this?
Yeah. Um, I don't know. I don't know how much right now. Um, it has been going back to my initial kind of the big picture business goals. It's been a very slow or difficult year uh for everybody in the industry. So I don't know what the compensation would look like, but yeah, um that would be something I'd be open to for sure because ultimately, especially with the podcast clips, um and the reason why it's so important uh to have a good understanding in communicating through video editing is those clips translate directly into potential business for us. They're they are um a I probably don't know what this means, but it's a lead generation thing. They are going to directly or indirectly bring potential customers into our doors. So it's something that's worth investing in.
Great, excellent. And last question, do you have any last prompt for any of the participants here or any advice on how they could help you as students?
Just like in general for helping.
Yeah, any last question you want to ask them to get input on how they could help you?
Hmm. Um, I mean, I think the biggest thing is if you're interested in doing this, if this is something that's um yeah, something that you want to pursue, I'd just like to see your work and what kind of graphics or video or stuff that you're playing around with, you're learning and that you've done. So
Cool. Yeah, so I think everyone's who's been coming to these employer spotlights is understanding that employers want to see what you make. They want to see what you've created. They want to see your portfolio. And that's essentially what Joe's mentioning here. So if you feel like you have a portfolio around this and you have it ready as a link, go and put it in the chat. And we're gonna go to some questions now, Joe. So Ahan mentioned earlier, I have an interest in Adobe and Unity. Brenda mentioned, what would the producer be in charge of specifically in this context? Maybe Brenda, you can ask Joe more directly right now if you're available.
Yeah, I was when you were talking about some of the clients that you have, or maybe it was like the different jobs at the company, you mentioned something about a producer, and I was just a little curious about that. Like, what do they do? What's their job like?
yeah, so producers in the creative industry are it's the term for a project manager. That's what uh yeah, like in most other industries or the tech field, they're called project managers. In the creative world, they're called producers. So they're the people who talk to the client, figure out what they need, how much they want to spend, what's their deadline, what's their time frame for getting this project done. And in the movie industry, they're talking to the studio in this case, who's the studios are the one that pay for films to be made. And then they go back to the creative team, which in that particular case would be myself, or it would be the movie director. And they say, okay, this is what the client is saying. Can you tell me what you think? What ideas do you have to get this accomplished? What do you need from me or from the client in terms of budget or things like that. So they're kind of the middleman in bridging the gap between the people who have the money and the people who have the creative skills and the fun ideas and that actually make the videos. It's a super important job, and it's very difficult as well. It can be because you're always kind of stuck between these opposing forces. Um, but the people that are good at it will make or break whether or not a video project or a movie um, wins or not. So
Yeah, thank you.
yeah, of course, it's a good question.
And Brenda also asked a question on, can we see some examples of the content that you might be imagining? So perhaps you might have a video example already
Hmm.
that you can share on your screen or something like that. Is there anything that you'd like to share right now, Joe, that you have prepared and ready by chance?
Sure. Yeah. So the link that I sent is our um like that's the type of content that we make at Raconteur. That's our main website. As far as the style of content that I was talking about, um the pull up an example here. Is it all right if I share my screen?
Yep.
So I really like the way that this guy um structures his short term or short form videos. Another kind of go-to reference for this would be Alex Hormozzi, I think is his name. But at any rate, so these are really short, kind of punchy clips. There's a lot of movement in it. You have um, graphics, interesting text things going on. The camera is constantly moving in and out. That's not the best example in the world, but um, yeah, like this stuff in the background to reinforce the message that he's talking about. And the objective with these clips is that in the business sense, um, these are touching on things that people struggle with, their difficulties they're having in their life. And so, in their business, in their position, whatever. And these are ways to really quickly address the problem and say, hey, this is how I approach these issues and educate them a little bit uh, on what they can do differently. Basically, it's be helpful. um, let's see if I can find this guy. I think is one of the guys that kind of coined this video style. He's an entrepreneur guy. Um, this one's not super interesting. Hopefully you understand what I mean by this, though. They're really short, compelling, interesting videos with a lot of different graphics and things inside of them. This. Does that help?
that really helps me visualize what you're looking for because I've seen videos like that. They're really good and effective.
Cool.
Cool. So I don't see any other questions that are here. So let me go ahead and close it out for everyone. So Joe, we essentially have a new model where students can build projects to pitch internships. So that's the model that we're going for. And what you shared today will be content that our 60 so odd externs, we call it, will be able to choose from a select range of employers. And Raconteur will be on there with your interests that you're sharing today with this content available for them to explore. So the next step essentially is actually, I'll talk to you probably one-on-one at some point in the next few days. But in addition to that, we're going to be launching that form for the students probably in the next couple of days for them to choose from. And we're going to allow students to choose from multiple employers to build projects to pitch internships for, because they'll have multiple interests. So that's what you can expect going forward. I also know that I think you mentioned your brother has something as well. So what we may want to do is schedule something more specific to him, and you can represent him if you still have an interest in that, or you can just take what you just sent me and we'll consider it. But we would prioritize Raconteur specifically, unless your brother has a specific thing that he wants to share. So that could be a separate item that we can do one of these for if you're interested still. So, but that's pretty much all we got for you today. Anything else you'd like to ask us as curiosities, or the externs or future interns to cap it off?
I don't think so.
Cool.
Yeah, I would.
I think it's really clear what you're asking for already.
Yeah, that's that's good. It's hopefully more straightforward than previous years' projects, and maybe smaller and more attainable.
Mm-hmm. And
But
this is also the model that we're looking to approach our program with, right? Is how can it be easy for you, you know? And as you can imagine, you joined this program also through our website, and we're in a program. So we're actually trying to format everything so that it's streamlined for everyone and everyone's kind of facilitated. There's less logistics. So this content alone is a program, right? And this content alone would then give everyone here who's watching it and interested in Raconteur animation context, right? And then with that context, they can just build solutions for you without you even knowing, right, that they're doing it. And then the hope is to have you be pleasantly surprised with interests without having to spend X amount of hours or X amount of minutes, setting up programs and then fishing for students to build projects to win internships. So we're still going to have build projects to win internships, but build projects to pitch internships is a model that we're experimenting with. That'd be kind of like a program before that. So that way there's more options and varieties for students and lower commitments on your end, essentially, as an employer. So that's basically the intent across the board.
cool. Yeah, that'd be great to, less time commitment on my end would be ideal.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I would like to chat briefly about the other project. It's I think it would be really fun for somebody who has some programming or game expertise. He wants to do a little, just a simple mobile video game. So and it's paid as well. So I think that could be really fun.
Sure. Is that a company? Is there a company name behind that? Is there an organization? And can we schedule that basically offline, essentially?
Um, that's a good question. It would
Let's take that
be
offline. Let's take that offline and we can schedule another one, since this is mostly focused on Raconteur at the moment.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Sounds good. Cool. So Joe, I'll ping you and we'll go from there. We'll invite you out for now, and I'll close out with the interns/externs and get back to you pretty soon.
Thanks, Derek. Nice to
All right.
meet you all.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. So to close out, you all are here and you have just experienced Raconteur's. Oops, this is a wrong share. Let me share another one. So you all just experienced this and you now have context on Raconteur. Let's go ahead and click on save and complete and move on to the next activity here, which is writing a thank you letter. So if you have an interest in Raconteur, by the way, Raconteur, awesome, like in terms of what they produce. If you actually have an interest in animation, you have an interest in style and creative, conveying of stories through 3D and through animation, and you are hungry and everything that he just said, it's a high bar, I understand, right? But if you want to commit yourself in that space, I would highly recommend you write a thank you letter and express your interest, because it's a great opportunity. They're not some big company too, right? So they're accessible at the same time. So go and write a thank you letter. And again, get specific with your thank you letter. Write his name, right? Say, hi, Joe, right? This is live now. So it's going to send it to him like immediately now. So just letting you know that this is kind of what it looks like. And when you also put up an attachment, it's going to send the attachment too. So just note that as well. So thank you for joining Raconteur Animations live stream. And we're going to move on to Skincare by Felicia next. So I'm going to close out this live stream now. Thank you all for joining Raconteur and appreciate it.